Okay, here we are. I was about to walk outside and was like, yes, I'm gonna go do a vlog and show you folks the outside of the trailer and everything. Nice little travel trailers over there. But then I saw that it started storming, it started raining. It is kind of funny. Like when I was a teenager in the Maryland area, Maryland had been going through like a decade-long drought, so we're really used to not having rain. But now we get rain all the time. What's kind of really funny, especially with this whole climate change thing, is it's funny to hear people like argue about whether this is a normal amount of rain or whether it's climate change. Because it's weird, like always people forget like how it was actually a drought. So if you go from a drought to a lot of rain, is that the drought is over, or is it that climate change is making things worse? Who knows, who knows. But anyways, the trailer's over there, so let's walk out there. Get to the trailer, quick, 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 quick. Oh, woo. It is rainy, 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 rainy. But oh well, I'm a man. I can deal with the rain. I come up to the trailer, very happy to get the trailer here. Because a big thing, like I say, is the battery for the trailer was out before, so this way hopefully it'll recharge. Seems really dark in here. Oh, that's right, we've got all these different lights in here. So this is the inside of the trailer. I'll probably show you folks more of it. I wanted to show you more of it today, but well, you know, it's pretty rainy. So wow, it looks like there we go, that's a nice bright light. I think the reason that everything is so dim is, like I say, the batteries haven't recharged yet. So I'll turn on some more lights here. There we go, that's a nice light. But yeah, so this is our nice little travel trailer. Again, when you are in a travel trailer, it's not as tiny as horrible as you think. This is our nice little kitchen area. And one of the greatest things in the world is having a kitchen island in your travel trailer. Because it really makes you feel like there's a separation. It gives you a psychological feeling that there's a kitchen and like a dining room and living room area. I know it sounds stupid, but again, so much in human life is just psychological tricks. And so by simply having that kitchen island, it means one person can be over in the kitchen doing whatever in the kitchen, and one person can be in the dining room or here, and they feel like it's separate. It feels like, oh dear, in the kitchen, can you pass me a beer, please? Right, and you feel like it's a different place. I know, it sounds stupid, but it really is useful. Then again, with all travel trailers and things now, of course you got the big screen TV, because everything's got to have a big screen TV. And if you come around, you can see the nice little bedroom in here. So that's our queen size, our travel trailer queen size bed. Not too bad, like I said, nice and pretty decent size. And you come out here, and you go over, and you got a nice cupboard, a nice pantry. I guess you probably can't see that very well. And then you've got our nice little bathroom. Again, you got a bathroom, you got a sink, you got a full stand-up shower. So it's all pretty good. It's not quite the comforts of home. Again, for me, you folks know how I like things to be pretty nice. So unfortunately, like with these travel trailers, it's very hard to get like really high quality stuff. Like if you buy an Airstream, again, Airstreams are like, you know, like I say, the Apple of the RV world. But they cost a lot of money. They cost a stupid amount of money. I mean, it's like I say, you go from, that's not too bad a price, to like, holy hell. Again, like a Airstream, like the smallest Airstream they make, which is just like a frickin' porta potty on wheels, and it's $44,000. So it's really nice. You can look at your Italian marble in your Airstream, but damn, that expensive. But that's my only issue with the travel trailers. Unfortunately, like with the couches and all that, it's just not like great. It's like good enough. It's like good enough, definitely. But I do wish I could buy like better quality couches and some things. Like you can even see, like, I don't know if you can see the table there. I mean, that's like a pretty simple dining room table, but it's already like kind of bowing in the middle. So that's really like the only downside of the travel trailer thing is like really good quality stuff isn't quite there. But anyway, so this is our travel trailer. This is what we'll be living out of for 3.5 weeks from Tuesday. So Tuesday we go off to Ohio Pile. And we are there for a week until we go off to Luray, Virginia. And then we are there for a week until we go off to Gatlinburg. Right outside Pigeon Forge. I love Pigeon Forge. I just want to live in Pigeon Forge. Anyways, just for the name of it. Like I say, we forge our pigeons. We go there for like a week and a half, and then we come back for a little bit. And then we will go off on our next month-long adventure. Some people have asked if we're going out west or anything like that this year. Not this year. Because going out west does take a long time. Again, one of the reasons I talk about the United States as an empire rather than a country is a lot of people don't really realize like just how big the United States is. And not only that the United States is big, but that it's most all used. Right, so if you go up to Canada, I think Canada the second largest. It's like Russia is the largest country, physically largest country in the world, and like Canada's like the second largest, and then I think we're third or fourth, right? But the thing is, like when you go to Canada, a huge section of it is really just not used. There's not roads. It's just snow and trees and moose and that kind of stuff. Again, like last time I saw the population, like Canada's like the second largest country in the world, but it only had like 30 million people. It had like a tenth the population that we do. And like I say, with Russia has more population than Canada, but again, a huge amount of it's like Siberia and places that just aren't used, like really can't be used at all. One of the interesting things with the United States is like how our population is most all of it gets used. Now, I mean, again, you have the Great Plains and you have areas that get more or less used. It's all starting to dim in here for some reason. But, that is weird. Why is it dimming in here? Turn that off. But the thing is, more or less used, but a lot of it does get used. So you go to Denver, or you go to Kansas. Woo! Look at that rain. I am so happy. I am not out there right now. That is definitely not a day that Eli would want to be out of the rain. Well, look at me out of the rain. But anyways, the thing is with the U.S., it's all used. So that's the thing, is it's big. I mean, it's 3,000 miles. What is that, 5,000 kilometers east to west? And then 2,000 miles, which would be like 3,000 kilometers north to south. More or less as a square, as a rectangle, right? So we're not going to go out west, just because it takes a long time. Like I have found a good day driving with the trailer for me is about 400 miles a day. Because especially with a trailer, you gotta set it up, or you gotta disassemble it in the morning. You gotta take it somewhere. You gotta assemble it at night. There's a whole bunch that goes to like moving a trailer. So it's not like you feel I don't feel as comfortable driving a trailer for like 12 hours a day as I would a car. Like if I just had my truck, I could do 10 hours a day, no big deal, at 60, 70 miles an hour. So that would be like 700 miles. The thing is with this, again, you hit about 400 miles, and that's about as far as you want to go. And so again, with the U.S., you figure it's 3,000 miles across. So you do 400 miles a day. One day, 800 is 2 days, 1,200 is 3 days, 1,600 is 4 days. So really, it's about 5 days. So you get to about the 2,000 mile mark is about 5 days of driving. So that's a lot of driving. So we will not make it west this year. I highly doubt. Who knows? Maybe something will happen. Again, our plan is to go do this loop that we're planning, and then we'll go to the northeast. We'll go up to the Adirondacks, and then we'll go up to Nova Scotia and see how that goes. And then next year, I'm hoping for like the expedition. My thought is next year will be the West expedition, because this winter we're probably gonna take this down to Florida. So we will probably go like to Florida for 3 months. But my idea is next year we'll do this on the expedition. My hope is like to go to Alaska with this thing. That is my hope. But that is going to be a hell of a slog. That is what you're just going to call a slog. Because I think from like There's like some road like from Canada to Alaska or whatever. It's like 1,000 miles unto itself. So that is going to be a hell. Like getting to Alaska, getting to anywhere in Alaska, I mean, really will be like north of 4,000, somewhere between 4,000 to 5,000 miles of driving to get there. Not round trip. Not round trip. Like, look, we finished 5,000 miles driving. Great, dear. Let's go home. Right. So I think that'll be the expedition I would like to do. I don't know. We'll have to see. Like I say, with how Fail Normal goes and how some other things go, I think it would be cool to go out for like a 6-month. But we shall see. So people have been asking, are you going to get to Utah this year? Not this year. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. So today I want to talk about mommy and daddy issues. And before I talk about mommy and daddy issues, just so this is clear, just so this is completely on the table, not everything in the world I talk about has to do with Louis Rossmann. I just want that to be absolutely fucking crystal clear. Because I talk about Louis Rossmann so much that sometimes, even when I'm not actually talking about Louis Rossmann, it seems like I am in fact talking about Louis Rossmann. And I'm not. And I'm not. Now, normally, I don't really care that much. So, he was unhappy with a statement I made a little while ago. In a video where I was talking about an amalgamation of events. So I deal with a lot of people. Again, there's more people in my life than Louis Rossmann. So there's an amalgamation, right? And so I created an amalgamated story that he took a bit of offense to. Which, that's his business. He's a man, I'm a man, deal with it, right? You know what I'm saying? It's like, that was an amalgamation story. It's his option to take it personally. It really actually wasn't. It coincided with a series of events with him, but it actually, my insult or such that I stated in that thing, one, was pretty light to begin with, and two, wasn't fucking about him. It was an amalgamation. And so the thing is, talking about mommy and daddy issues today, I really want to make this fucking crystal clear that this isn't about him. If he wishes to internalize this, that is his fucking business. If you wish to think it's about him, it's not, right? Because he's been talking a lot lately. Again, he talks on his videos a lot more about the personal stuff. Again, I don't really have a lot of reason to talk about my mom or my dad or my family. Again, it's kind of like the whole Jewish thing. It's not for or against. I just don't really feel like it's much of your... You know what I'm saying? It's just... There are some parts, like I say, when you start doing YouTube, one of the problems I find with people that do YouTube is they start to share too much. And that's one of the things, like, I actually emailed Louis about this before when having a bit of a discussion about this. And one of the things, like, I told him is what you have to understand when I'm doing these videos, and even Fail Normal, as much as Fail Normal seems to track my life, the reality is my life, if you want to say, has a story arc. And the story arc of Fail Normal in many ways coincides with the storyline of my life. But it is, in fact, not one and the same. There is the truth of my life, and then the truthiness of Fail Normal. Now, these are... that again, so like with story arcs, and when I talk about things, and when I talk about people, there's ways that I feel and then I interact and deal with people in real life, and then there's ways that I deal and interact with people on Fail Normal, and they're not the same. You know, like there are some things that make good storylines and make for a funny, for interesting commentary that aren't necessarily how I feel in like real life. Like with Louis, right? So you have Louis, and he's an electronic repair person, right? He goes out there, he fixes motherboards and all that kind of stuff. So on Fail Normal, the Fail Normal storyline with Louis is all about me trying to get him to come to the dark side of doing content creation. And the reason is because I think that is an interesting storyline, and that is something that is interesting to poke and to prod and to look into. So you have somebody that is very, very qualified in a technical career field. But randomly, again, he started doing YouTube videos as therapy. Like, I actually started doing videos as a business, not YouTube, but videos as a business. But he randomly did this as therapy, and so you have somebody that's highly qualified in the technical field that finds that he's good in this other thing that he really wasn't planning to go into. It was just YouTube. Creating YouTube's videos is cheaper than paying a therapist. But then he finds out that he's actually very good at doing that thing, that content creation. And so with that, you set up a very interesting dynamic. And you find something interesting for me to talk about with you folks with. It's, there's a lot of things. It's the difference between the profession, how you thought you were going to be successful, versus the question of how could you be more successful. So again, there's a lot of people that go into the real world and they have this idea, again, flexibility. They have this idea of, this is what I'm going to be as a professional. And then for whatever reason, there are these other options that are on the table that they never thought about, right? They never considered. And those ways may be better. I mean, that's one thing. Or there's a question of the new technologies and new ways of doing things versus the old way of doing things. Basically the idea of if you want to make the world a better place through electronic repair, is it better that you do the electronic repair yourself, or that you teach 1,000 other people to do electronic repair? There's the questions of manliness. Manliness, right? Because if you look at Louis Rossman, it is manly to fix electronics. It is manly to fix electronics. Versus if you look at content creation, most of the content creators in the technical world, and, God bless. But you look at Linus, or you look at Evans, or you look at Marcus Brownlee. Oh, how do I say this properly? They don't necessarily come off as the most manly people. I'm just saying, if barbarians were at the gate, I'm not sure Linus would be the first person I gave a gun. You know what I'm saying? And so there's all these questions. So it's interesting to poke and prod. And so the thing is, and so that's a storyline of Fail Normal, and that's a story arc of Fail Normal. So Fail Normal is Eli, the computer guy who does all this technical thing, that is 40 years old, has done the electronics thing, has done this, done that, finds out content creation, it's really great, actually makes a lot of money. And so you see somebody like Lewis, and the question is bringing you to the dark side, and all the arguments are coming to the dark side again, because there's a lot of arguments. I mean, the question is like when you do high-level electronic repair, and again, things that you should be thinking about. So what is really cool at 27 is not going to be really cool at 37. So again, the question, like with Lewis, is like, oh, okay, so your electronic repair is doing really good now because you're doing so much of the work. But you're 27 years old, and you're motivated, and you're intelligent, you're dedicated. But the question is how do you get from where you're 27 to 37? Right? Because again, I've had employees. Holy hell. And believe me, employees that do normal computer repair, as in swapping hard drives, can drive you up the wall. Again, I had one of my best employees. This guy was fucking smart, he was fucking motivated, he was fucking awesome, all the way up until he decided to lose his mind. At which point, literally assembling, I had told him to assemble computers, and he ended up breaking off screws in the cases because he wasn't paying enough attention, right? This is how bad it, and that was a good guy. So can you imagine with Lewis trying to expand his business, again, God, getting good electronic repair people, like if you watch his videos and he changes those chips out, you got to pay attention to what the hell you're doing. And with that, it's not like you put in a bad hard drive and you screw one thing up. Again, with all the heat stuff that he deals with, I mean, you could screw up motherboards and do a lot. And so again, there's a lot of those things. Is like, And so that's where, when I talk about Lewis, there's this storyline of coming to the dark side of content creation. Now, realistically, as a business person, so there's Eli, the failed normal guy, and then there's Eli first. Then if he wants to expand, there's actually a number of other ways that it would be very reasonable for him to expand. But they just don't make interesting storylines. And I've told him all this. So, like with him, honestly, if I was him, what I would probably go for is trying to scale up and become that depot level repair shop. Right? Because the amount of the type of electronic repair that he does really is a pretty niche thing, right? So when I had my computer repair shop here, I don't think I knew of anybody that did the electronic repair that he does to his level. I knew people that knew specific capacitors that would blow on Macs, and so they could replace those capacitors. But God help them if a resistor and IC chip somewhere else blew, right? Again, they weren't electronic technicians. They were people that knew how to swap one single capacitor, right? So I knew those people. And so if you look at that, I would argue from a normal business sense, that's how I would expand. I would think about expanding. Again, you start doing smartphones, you start doing TVs, you start doing high level electronic equipment, like maybe medical electronic equipment or other things that are very specialized. And so that's one of the things I've told him. But I don't bring it up in these videos because it's not an interesting storyline. Hey, look, you have a 21-year-old who figures out how to do electronic repair. He then builds his business doing Mac electronic repair, and then he builds his business to start doing bigger stuff. Not a particularly interesting storyline. It is not a story for the ages. It is not a contest of wills or ideology. It's just a nice little progression. Again, not a bad progression, but a nice little progression. Again, like I say, I've talked with him too about the whole education front. Again, he's good in front of people. Education is a huge amount of money. Again, especially if you're dealing with kids and all that kind of stuff. Fucking insane. I mean, think about Lewis. If he started doing electronic training for kids, you want to talk about a fucking cash cow? Oh my golly, right? And again, if you're doing electronic repair for kids, again, you have to have instructors that know how to solder resistors and solder IC chips and be able to use very, very low-end heat sinks. You don't have to, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to have the highest quality of people. Again, you can pay them well, but you don't have to worry about them, melting something. Oh no, you melted a 25-cent resistor. Oh, what am I going to do? Give you another resistor, right? But again, like I say, that's another track you could go down. But again, that's not a story for the ages. That's a pretty normal thing. So again, one thing you do have to understand whenever I'm talking about things, because I talk about Lewis a bit in these videos, I'm going to try to actually scale it back. I'm talking about him too much. Whenever it comes up as Lewis-esque, what you have to realize is, again, there is a story. There is the YouTube Lewis and the YouTube Eli, and then there's the real world Lewis and the real world Eli. And those things aren't necessarily the same, right? Again, they are similar. They are, going down the same road, sort of, but they're not always the same. So that's just an important thing. Because again, as I'm going to be talking about today with mommy and daddy issues, holy fuck, I'm not talking about you, Lewis. Again, if you wish to fucking internalize this, that is your goddamn business. It's not me, right? Just gonna put that out there on the table. And so one of the things that's been coming up that I've noticed a lot with a lot of comments and things with on YouTube and all that, a lot of people feel like I have gone off the deep end. Oh, Eli has become so impressed with his own ego. Eli has become so impressed with his own voice. He is leaving behind what made him popular and important and made him money just to hear himself talk. Like, a lot of people are kind of trying to thrash me with the idea of essentially what Chris Pirillo did. And again, I like Chris Pirillo. Chris Pirillo did walk off a bridge as far as YouTube videos are concerned. Where Chris Pirillo, he did the tech vlogs for a long time, made his mark off of tech vlogs. He had 300 and some odd thousand subscribers back when I had 30,000 subscribers. And then he became enamored with vlogging. And so then he started focusing on vlogging. And again, he's one of the only YouTube channels I have ever seen in my entire life where they're putting out new content and yet losing subscribers at the same time. The reality is, I mean, Chris Pirillo's a nice enough guy, but again, you gotta worry about with success, like what Shay Carl can do and be successful with, not everybody can do. And again, for whatever reason, people really like seeing Shay Carl and the Shay Tards or whatever they're called. It hasn't really migrated over to Chris. He's over there, like I say, doing vlogs about his daily life. And again, no offense to Chris, but I don't fucking care. Seems like a really good guy. Wife seems really like wife. Kid seems really fucking cute. You know what? I know a lot of good people with a lot of good wives who have really cute kids. Not something I really care about seeing, right? And so a lot of people feel like I've gone off the deep end that way. Oh, I have become so impressed with my own ego. I feel like all I need to do is talk, and people will flock for the dulcet tones of my voice. Which actually, in fact, is not the case. Again, well, I am impressed with myself, let's be honest. If you're not impressed with yourself, what the hell are you doing? Again, that's one of the lessons in life I learned, is you should always be striving to make yourself be cool. Like, you should look in the mirror and go, damn. And if you can't, then you should figure out how to do it. Yeah, going around travel trailer, going to Thailand. It's like, that's why I don't understand with so many people in life. It's like, if you think you suck, fair enough, but then make yourself better. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to sit there and see what my mentors do. I want to see what my mentors do and then do better than that. I want to be better than my like, if I look up to my mentors, then I want to be better than them, which means my 25-year-old self would look at my 39-year-old self and go, damn, that's cool, right? Again, the proudest day of my life. I had a mentor of mine, right? Coolest guy in the world. Great, awesome, coolest guy. And I remember a few years ago, I was talking to him on the phone about something, and he was off doing something like really cool. And then like the greatest compliment I ever got in my life. And I was like, man, dude, I want to be you when I grow up. And then he paused for a second. And he's like, dude, I want to be you when I grow up. Oh, my mentor wants to be me when he grows up. I'm cool. But anyways, so yes, you should be impressed with yourself. If you're not impressed with yourself, what the fuck are you doing? I just don't get that, right? Anyways, again, don't let it go to your head. Don't go let it go. You gotta be better every day. But anyways, but it's not that I want to be impressed with myself. Essentially, what's happened is, so I started doing the electronic video, or the videos on computer repair years ago, 2000, in the fading light of 2009, right? Because I had been a consultant. I'd done the military thing. I'd been in the corporate world. I had been the consultant. I had my own shop with employees and all that kind of stuff. I shut that down, and then I'd gone off to college, right? And I went off to go a master's degree program. And when I was in the master's degree program, and I was overloaded. I was overloaded in the master's degree program. I was taking 15 credit hours. So I was going to finish my master's degree in a year. And I was there, and I was like a month or a month and a half into this master's degree program. And I remember I was sitting there, and it was like an infrastructure class, and it was a full class, and 30 some odd people in the classroom, and I'm just sitting there flipping through this stupid book, and then I look up at the instructor, professor, and I realize he's just talking from the book. TCP/IP, port, whatever. He's just reading from the book. He doesn't give a shit about the material he's saying. He doesn't care about the concept he's saying. He doesn't really care if we're even fucking listening. He gets paid to read from the book, and therefore he's reading from the book. And then I look around at all the students, and they're all sitting there going, okay. I don't think a damn one of these students even knows what the hell's coming out of his mouth. I know what's coming out of his mouth, but I don't really understand why I care. And they don't even understand what's going out of his mouth. And then I look at the book, and I flip through the front of the book, and I flip through the back of the book, and I'm looking at this book, and then I'm looking at the professor, and then I'm looking at the students, and I'm thinking to myself, I just had 9 full-time employees. Employees that I paid from my bank account. And we did servers, and we did voice over IP systems, and we did surveillance systems, and we did website. We did too much shit. To be clear, we did do. I had a concept for business that was wrong. That was wrong. But anyway, we did like everything. My concept with that business had been that it was easier to learn a technology than it was to get a good client. That was a very good hypothesis. It was a very wrong hypothesis. I should have figured out. I should have stuck with a couple of technologies and just run with it. But we had done like everything. Anyways, so I'm sitting there. Okay. And I'm like, I just been paying employees out of my pocket. I just had clients. I had just been building infrastructure. And then I'm looking around at this whole mess. And it's like all these people are just going through the motions. The professor is going through the motions. The students are going through the motions. They expect me to go through the motions. And it's like, but that's not the tech world, right? The tech world is we get paid for popping out solutions. Again, a high school dropout can become a multi-millionaire if they solve people's problems. It's not about the degree. If you walk out with a piece of paper, who cares? And that was one of the things. Like, so we had this particular class that we had. It was one of these things where we were supposed to, like, on paper, kind of prototype a design for like a new software system. So the idea is we were supposed to go out. We were supposed to figure out a problem for a business, and then we were supposed to prototype the system. So that meant we were supposed to, draw out basically like the wireframe, the software design, and then beyond wireframing, you then go and you explain literally what everything on that page does. And we do that, and then we're supposed to explain the infrastructure that goes behind it, so the servers and the UPS and the disaster recovery and all that kind of stuff. And so again, we're going through this, and it's a master's program. Master's, not bachelor's, not associate's, master's program. I'm talking to one person, and I'm sitting there, and again, one of my questions in life is I don't mind doing work, but I don't want to do stupid amounts of work. If I can get an A by doing this amount of work, then I don't want to do this amount of work. So I'm talking with one of the people in the class. During the breaks, I'm like, yeah, well, I'm looking at this, this back end thing, and I'm thinking, because I had this idea for a piece of software. I'm like, yeah, so what does he really want out of this? Does he really just want a backup solution? Like, can I just have a server with a backup solution? Or, if there's going to be a database running it, do I need to do a cluster for the database? Or maybe I virtualize the cluster of the database so I can have like these virtualized instances, the database server, and this high availability environment. And I'm like, man, any of those are technically the right answer, but how complicated does he want me to make this stuff? And then my fucking fellow student looks at me and he's like, I have no idea what you just said. And it's like, what part of that? What the high availability cluster? He's like, I don't. What is high availability? What is cluster? What's an instance? It's like, oh, son of a beach. So these are master's level students in an IT program that don't know what a cluster is, don't know what a virtualized instance is, doesn't know what high availability. Right? So I sit there and I go home and I'm thinking about it. I'm like, what the hell? And so that's where I got the idea. That's the idea. It's like, what if I started doing classes about what we actually get paid for? Again, because there's all these classes out there for fiber optic cable or for, all this high-level stuff. Get your master's degree, but do you know what you're doing? And so I was thinking, cabling was something that I had to learn. Like, literally, I learned network cabling, creating patch cables and all that, because my buddy had this, like, $300 testing kit from Ideal that he hadn't gotten around to figuring out. So, like, he had a wiring job. And literally, me being me, I said, hey, I don't suppose I can borrow your testing kit, and if I can figure out how to do wiring, by tomorrow, you give me the job instead of subcontracting out to an electrician. And he was like, well, if you can figure it out, I'd much rather pay you $20 an hour than him $80 an hour. So I pulled out this piece of paper and spent 4 hours having no idea how to do a patch cable. And I figured out how to do it, and I figured out how to do the testing and all that kind of stuff. So it's that kind of stuff. It's like data recovery. Nobody had classes on data recovery. Nobody had classes on cabling. Nobody had classes on Linux, just not to be a Linux administrator even, just like, oh, you got a Linux box, here's what you do it. Telephone systems, the whole 9 yards. So that was my idea. Okay, so I'm going to go out and I'm going to create these classes in all these subject areas. Nobody has, again, people really do need to know. It really does give you very good profit. But there's no classes. So that was my initial idea, right? So I go out there, I created those classes. Lots and lots and lots and lots of those classes. And that's what I was doing. That's what I was doing for a long time. But then I was coming to a problem where I started getting all of these questions from people. And they were really weird. Again, like I say, there's the technical thing. There's installing an Active Directory server. But then there's how to sell an Active Directory server. Or the question of, if you need an Active Directory server, do you want to do Server 2012 or do you want to do Samba 4? Those are questions. It's not one's right. Again, do you use Drobo or do you use Synology or do you use FreeNAS? Why would you ever buy an IX Systems anyway, right? Or why would you not buy an IX system? And those were the questions. And so I got hired by this company called CBT Nuggets to do these things called micro nuggets for them, these little 5-minute videos. And they flew me out to their offices in Oregon. I went out there, I schmoozed with everybody. Good time for the most part. Again, great company. CBT Nuggets. Definitely support CBT Nuggets. But when I was out there, it was right after Google Hangout had really come on the scene. And they had me do a Google Hangout on air with their members. Well, that was the plan, at least. They scheduled me for a Google Hangout on air, and like one person showed up. But I hadn't ever used it before. I didn't know Google Hangout on air existed, blah, blah. So I'm sitting there, and we do Google Hangout on air, and I'm like, huh, that's a really interesting idea. So I poke them. I'm like, can anybody do this? They're like, yeah. And they show me how to do it. I'm like, oh. And so that's when I had the idea of the daily blog. Because that was a problem. Again, you solve the problem that you see. You solve the problem that's in front of you. How does Eli, the computer guy, go from running a computer shop to doing mommy and daddy problem videos? We're talking about that, right? And so I was like, huh, I bet I could use that. So I come home, and way back when, a long time ago now, what, 4 years ago? I think it was like 4 years ago. Fucking insane. Time goes by, boys and girls, time goes by. Anyways, like 4 years, 3 or 4 years, 4 years ago, I think. I come back after that, and that's when I start doing the daily blogs. Because it was like, I can do this live show where people leave comments and questions, and then I can answer your specific questions. Again, do you do a direct cable connection between buildings? Like, how do you connect 2 buildings? Oh, you use a wireless bridge. Do you use Linksys for the wireless bridge or Cisco for a wireless bridge? It's like, well, if you want it to last for a month, you use Linksys. If you want it to last for 5 years, you do Cisco. Again, but those are like, that was a thing. Is that there are so many random questions. I can show you how to set up a wireless bridge. But that doesn't explain to you whether you should use Linksys or whether you should use Apple Airport Extreme or whether you should use Cisco or whether you shouldn't do it at all and you should use some other thing, right? So that's why I started doing the daily blog. I did like 300 episodes of the daily blog. It's amazing. I did a lot of those motherfuckers. Alright, and so we go through, and I answer lots and lots and lots of questions. And basically, I answer all the questions out there. Again, that's one of the things you go through in life is you just keep going, and at a certain point in time, you kind of run through all the questions that there are. It's like, right? So I'm going along. So last year, like I say, my wife and I are trying to figure out what we're going to do in life. Again, after her cancers were finally finished, then we figure out we're not going to have kids. And again, not having kids really does change your perspective on what you're going to do in life. Because again, like if we had kids, especially in school, we couldn't just hop in a travel trailer all the time we want. Because we don't have kids, we can. And so like I had been prepping my life basically on the idea of having kids. Probably 2 kids. And so if you're going to have 2 kids, I mean, it's not good or bad one way or the other. It's not like I'm giving up or I'm gaining. It's just like if you're going to have 2 kids, then you set up a pretty stable environment. And also there's things like when you have kids, it creates its own community. Right? Anybody with kids, you take the kids to kindergarten, and then you meet parents there, and then you have slumber parties, and there's all this community stuff that just doesn't exist, kids. So like I said, last year, oh, we're trying to figure out what the hell, like, what is our life going to look like? Okay, you're 40 years old, don't plan to have any kids, financially successful, professionally successful. What are we gonna do, right? And so we go and we travel around, and so, like, we're out there traveling, and I put this on hold. I put videos on hold. Then a few, but basically put it on hold because, again, money comes in. Again, if you do evergreen content, a lot of YouTube content creators talk about, like, as soon as they stop doing content, the money falls off the cliff. So, like, the Philip DeFrancos of the world or the Drama Alerts of the world, those types of people, as soon as they stop creating new content, money goes away. Well, here's the thing. When you create evergreen content, so basically content that people can watch year after year after year after year, people are still watching my videos, and I'm still making money off of my videos from 2010, then you don't have the drop-off. You don't. Again, I have been basically phoning in my videos for Eli the Computer Guy for about a year and a half. For about a year and a half, I've been phoning in Eli the Computer Guy, and it's still paying me well. It's still paying me well, and I've been phoning it in, right? Because it's evergreen. It is going on a downward slide. All right. But anyway, so we're out there, and I'm thinking, let's see, how can I interact with people? How can I do something valuable and decent? And so that's where I had the idea of, again, Silicon Trailer. The idea of, okay, I go to all these random places, so there's got to be a few of my viewers out there that actually want to meet with me. So I'll go out there, and I will talk with these viewers, and just get an idea of what issues that they're running into. Right? Again, I'm not going to charge anybody for it. When I first had the idea for Silicon Trailer, I honestly thought like 1 or 2 people a month would want to meet me. A month. And that wasn't too bad, right? If I meet with like 2 people a month, that gives me an idea of what my viewers want. Right. Well, I go out. Holy crap. Again, like everywhere I went with Silicon Trailer, people met me. I was in the middle of Saranac Lake. Like Saranac Lake, New York is the middle of damn nowhere. And I think I had 2 meetings there. I had a person drive like 3 hours or 4. I had a person drive 3 or 4 hours there, spend the night at a hotel, just so he could meet me at 9 o'clock in the morning. I had 2 people there that met me. I was in Buffalo when people met me. Again, I mean, my big stories, I talk about like Custer, South Dakota. Custer, South Dakota, population 9,500. And I had 3 meetings there, right? And so I go, and I sit there, and I start talking with people. And so this is like the real world thing, right? And the weirdest thing happened when I started having those conversations. Because again, when I started having those conversations, I figured at this point, it would be questions of how do you deal with contracts, leasing, that kind of stuff. Leasing, again, like how do you do a markup on a Linux server? Again, all this weird stuff. How do you sell markups so that the client is happy with it? There's certain ways you can sell things that will bring you a profit margin, and the customer is pissed to high hell. And there's other ways you can sell at the exact same price, and the client's happy. Again, like project pricing. Project pricing is a good example. If I'm going to sell you a project for $10,000, let's say I'm going to install 10 surveillance systems. There's 10 surveillance cameras in your building. If I tell you the hardware cost will be $2,000 and the labor cost will be $8,000 for a grand total of $10,000, the client will lose their fucking mind. They will fucking go batshit on your ass about how dare you think that you are going to charge me $8,000 in labor. Who the fuck do you think you are? I don't even pay my lawyer that amount of money, right? $2,000 hardware, $8,000 labor, $10,000 total. Well, here's the thing. When you're selling a project, right, all that matters is the profit. Right? All you want is that $8,000, $7,000, whatever profit. So what you do is you sell the hardware for $8,000 and you do the labor for $2,000. So in both instances, the hardware costs you $2,000, right? So in the first instance, the hardware costs you $2,000 and you charge what the hardware costs. In the other instance, you quadruple the price and then you shrink your labor. Either way, you come out with an $8,000 or whatever dollar profit, and the final cost is $10,000. But here's the thing: if you charge $8,000 for hardware and $2,000 for labor, they will write that check and not say another goddamn word. They will appreciate that you were willing to do work for them. If you charge them $2,000 for the hardware and $8,000 for the labor, they will go batshit and make sure that you know how horrible and evil and nasty you are. Right? So those were the kind of questions I thought I was going to get. And I did have some of those questions. But really, more of the questions that I got. And I'd sit there. And it was like this one person. And again, I figured this is okay with Batcave rules because it was a long, long time ago. And if any of you can figure out who the hell it is, you're Sherlock Holmes. But so I sit down and I'm in this one place and the person comes, blah, blah, blah. And so I start talking to this guy, right? And we're going through, and this person had owned a technology business in the past. So he'd owned a technology business in the past in a different place, and had sold that business to the competition when he realized the competition was going to take over anyway. Again, he had kind of like that come to Jesus moment where he's like, well, I can keep working my ass off, and at some point, it's going to take a few years, but they are going to kill me. And so he was able to sell his business at a decent profit, at a real profit, just so he could not be competition in the market. So this is a person who had a business, who had sold a business, had been in the field 10 years, like hadn't been in it quite as long as I had, but had been in the field 10 years. And so we sit down and we're talking. And so when we're talking, what I thought the questions were going to be is, again, do you think I should go into an IoT business or a web app business? If I do an app business, should I do web apps or iOS? Those are the questions I thought I was going to have. Those were not the questions I had. It's hard to explain. But the questions were so sophomoric. So fucking sophomore. I mean, just like, what the hell? Like, these are questions a 16-year-old in high school should be asking me. Not somebody in their 30s who's owned a business, made it successful, sold the business, and is on to their next thing. And I'm just sitting. So we're talking for like half an hour. And then I it's like, again, when you see me in the real world, again, I'm a lot nicer than I may seem in these videos. But there is a certain point where I would just put up my hands and go, stop. It's like, what? I'm like, man, what the hell is going on here? What the hell are we even talking about? They're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, and I told him, I was like, look, these are the questions a 16-year-old should be asking me. You know the answers to these questions, or you should be able to find them enough yourself. You don't need me answering this stuff. I mean, if you want to sit here and bullshit about this, I'll go through the motions with you. All right, my hour is already blown. But it just doesn't make a damn bit of sense that we're having this conversation. What the hell is going on, right? So he looks at me and he's like, well, here's the thing, honestly. Yeah, that would be nice. Again, like, so many people like come to me for help, and then like they won't be honest. And like, dude, I can't give you advice if you're not honest with me. All right? Like, well, honestly, he's like, well, look. Truth be told, I never felt like I had the respect of my father. And I was like, what? What? Okay. And then it was like, and my father died last year. And, when he was alive, I knew that I never felt like I had his respect, but at least he was alive. And I felt like I could get it at some point. But then once he died, I felt like I had never gotten his respect and that I would never be able to get it. And I was like, okay. And he's like, and honestly, for like the last year and a half, I've just been going around and around and around and around and around in circles. And I just can't get out of it. I'm looking at him like, well, that is a problem. It's not a technical problem, nor is it a business problem. It is a real problem, but, right? But again, that's the thing. Everyone's like MCSEs and, right? And so we sit there and we have a lot more conversation. And basically my advice to him is like, dude, you need to get to a therapist. Look, I'm a professional, right? You came to me for advice, right? He's like, yes. My advice is get a fucking therapist. And go to that therapist for a year and get your head back in order. And once your head's back in order, set up another appointment with me, and then we can start talking about IoT and web apps and whatever else. But it's like, until your head is in order, nothing that I say here is gonna matter. And we got done with it, and it felt like it was a really good meeting. It was like, thank you so much. Right, I had another meeting, and it was like, I was talking with this guy, and he was a good guy. And he seemed like a smart guy. He seemed like a good guy. Seemed like a smart guy. Again, I'm not saying the guy's gonna be like the next Bill Gates. I'm not polishing anybody's ass here. But and he was talking about how he couldn't get a job anywhere. And I'm like, really? You can't get a job anywhere? Again, jobs suck. But at least you can start at a help desk. And he's talking about how he can't get a help desk job. He can't get, because that's the thing. Like, he's trying to get in this career. He got his degree in IT. And then couldn't get into this career at all. It wasn't that he couldn't be successful in this career. He couldn't get past the help desk. He couldn't even get into the help desk. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, what do you mean you can't even get a help desk? Every place has a help desk. Again, I'm not saying it's where you want to be in life. It may be the place where you have to come to Jesus moment and realize this isn't for you. You should be able to. And we keep talking and talking and talking. The thing is, as I'm talking to him, he has this weird thing where he never looks at me. I'll ask him a question, and he'll be like, yes, well, yes, I got a 3.5 GPA in college. I'll be like, okay, well, do you understand how to do systems administration? Yes, I know how to do systems administration. And again, we go through about half an hour of this, and I'm like, hold up for a second, hold up. And he's like, what? I look at him, it's like, why are you literally not looking me in the eye? Not even fucking coming close to looking me in the eyes. Like, what? Well, I had this idea that if I didn't look people in the eye, that it would make them feel more comfortable with me. And I looked at him, who the fuck gave you that idea? You're the creepiest son of a bitch I have run into in a long time. It's like, what? I'm like, dude, look me in the fucking eye. God damn it. And he's like, what? It's like, dude, again, I understand this whole thing. Some people don't feel comfortable looking people in the eye. They feel like it's too personal. So there's actually this weird little creepy thing I learned in, there's a thing with counter surveillance. Actually, with military and espionage and all that, there is actually a weird connection. The military says it's true. There's a weird connection with people where if you actually look people directly in the eye, there is actually a communication. There is something that happens where you then lock into their memory. But here's the weird thing, is that if you look at them and you look at their forehead, in the moment, they associate that with you looking them in the eye. But psychologically, the communication doesn't happen, and therefore that they don't quite remember you the same way. So it was I learned this with counter-espionage, and the idea is, so if you're following somebody, and they do something like turn around, or you're gonna follow somebody, and then you accidentally wind up in the same fucking elevator that they're in, and they look at you, what you should do is you look at them, but you look at their forehead. Because what happens there is they become comfortable because they feel like you're being open and honest and you're not a threat. But at the same time, since you're not actually looking them in the eyeball, there's not the communication that goes back and forth, so you don't lock in their brain. If you actually look in the eyeball, they will remember your face. Whereas if you look at them in the forehead, they will feel good about you, but they won't remember. So, I was saying, it's look, if for whatever reason you don't feel comfortable looking them directly in the eye, just fucking look in the forehead, because at least that means they will feel comfortable with you in the interview, and they won't throw your resume in the trash can. Because I looked at him, I was like, dude, you're doing this crap during the interview. I'm throwing your thing in the trash can, just balls out. I don't care if you were like I said, with the hiring employees, and I always say, employers hire the best option, not necessarily the best. It's like, if you were the only option, I'd still throw it in the fucking trash can, because you are creepy as hell doing this crap. It's like, really? It's like, yes, look at people. It's like, oh, right. And so I go through. And what I find, talking with people time and time and time again. So at this point, like I say, I did between 40 to 50 of Silicon trailer meetings. And then I did 200, over 200 of the meetings on Skype. So 200 Skype meetings, over 200 Skype meetings. And here's the thing that I find time and 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 time again. You know what the problem is? The problem's not getting an MCSE or getting a CCNA or getting a college degree. The problem is not whether you should use Microsoft Active Directory or Samba, whether you should use Drobo or storage spaces. The problem that most people have, and the reason that they are not successful in life, is fucking mommy and daddy issues. I did not live up to my mom's expectations. I did not live up to my dad's expectations. The whole thing, like I was talking with one person, again, being around Baltimore, and they were doing a startup company, and the idea that his family never talked about money, because he came from a lower class African American family. And so in their family, you just don't talk about money. If you start talking about money, it's all, who do you think you are? Which is fine and dandy, what the fuck ever. But it doesn't work if you're a startup founder, right? Being a startup founder is all about the fucking cash. All about the cash. If you got $1 million, you need 2. If you got $100 million, you need $1 billion, right? However much cash you got, you need more cash. And so, like, talking with him, it's like you have to talk about money. Because if you don't want to talk about money, go start a nonprofit. Believe me, Baltimore's got enough of them, right? If you want to do a technology nonprofit, by all means, don't talk about money. Waste money, get money, lose money, whatever, right? Nonprofits can do whatever the hell they want with money. Act like money isn't important. Money isn't important, except when paychecks need to be paid. But anyways, but it's like, if you're going to do a startup business, motherfucker, you got to talk about cash. You got to talk about a lot of cash, right? You got to be talking about cash like you be talking about the weather. Hey, man, you got $1 million today? Nah, man, I got 1.5. 1.5? How do I get 1.5? Well, let me tell you how I got 1.5, right? If you're not comfortable talking about money, man, startup life ain't for you. But that's the thing. Again, like I say, especially being around the Baltimore area, is like one of the biggest problems with people being successful around here is a whole societal issue of what? You think you're better than us? Oh, what? What, you too good for us anymore? Why, what? No, motherfucker. I went to college. I got a degree. I'm making money because I'm valuable. You fucking dropped out of high school. Thought somebody was gonna pick you up for the NBA doing a little street hoops, and now you're still working at McDonald's. Am I better than you? Depends on how you measure it. From a professional standpoint, fuck yes. From a human standpoint, and in the eyes of God, hell no. But yeah, from a money standpoint, right? But again, that's the thing. Like, one of the biggest problems I see, like I say, in the Baltimore area, is again, you think you're better than us? You think, again, you want to talk about the most destructive thing, one of the most destructive things in this country, and I'd say across the entire world, frickin' makes ISIS look like a damn pansy. Makes ISIS look like, oh, look at that. That's a bit of a problem. What, you better than us? Oh, who do you think you are? Oh, what, you don't remember where you, what, you don't remember where you come from? That shit destroys more lives than anything else, across the board. I swear to God, anybody that says I should be a death sentence, oh, you think you're better than us? Bang! Tell you what, we'll figure it out when we get up there. I'll meet you up there in 30 years and we can discuss it with the spaghetti monster, right? That is the most destructive thing in the world. And so that's a thing. And so that's where, I was saying, talking about mommy and daddy issues and all that kind of stuff. Just so you folks understand, that's the thing, like I say, with fail normal, is what I have found in life. The difference between success and failure It's not the certifications. It's not the degrees. It's not whether you have a silver spoon, you're born with a silver spoon up your ass or not. It's are you willing to go out there and do what the world needs to do? Are you willing to deal with your own fears? Are you willing to deal with your own insecurities? Are you willing to tell a certain number of people to go fuck themselves? Right? That's going to lead you to success. Again, there's that story. There's the most tragic fucking story I've ever known in my life, right? So I knew this woman. And when I met her, she was successful across the board. You could barely be more successful than this woman. Truly, right? So she had been in one profession. Good, nice, what's the middle? Middle class profession. Good, nice middle class profession, right? Gone from that to go into a high value profession. 6-figure easy profession. She had done that. She decided, that was good, but then wanted to go off and go into a higher level profession. Even higher level profession. Alright, so she was smart across the board. She was qualified across the board. Family, inheritance, and all that. Fucking had money. It was like one of these has money, plus making money, plus fucking smart as hell, so can make more money. Right? Across the board, like I say. 3 professions, middle class professions she was fully qualified for. 2 high 6-figure professions she was good for. Got money in the fucking bank. Everything. Everything you could want to be. Everything that you could imagine, for the most part, she had, right? I got to meet her at one point. This was a few years later. And it was all gone. It was all gone. Inheritance was gone. Gone. Motherfucking gone. I greet her at one of these frickin' retail stores. Just fuck 9 ways from Sunday. And again, I sit there and I look at her and they're already having a conversation. I'm like, I don't understand. I just really don't understand. Right? I ain't saying you shouldn't have fallen for grace. I ain't saying maybe you had a little hubris. Maybe you stretched yourself more than you should have. So I can understand where you had a fall. I understand where you would have burned through the inheritance money. I understand where you would have made a bad career decision. Not be making as much. But it's like, man, your resume is good. Like I say, I knew this woman. This wasn't like I had one beer with this woman. I knew this person. And their resume was solid. Everything across the board was solid. What? And again, looks at me and says, Eli, well, what you have to understand is I never felt like I lived up to my mom's expectations. What? I always felt like I was a disappointment to my mom. Okay, so no matter what I got, no matter what I had, I felt like I had to get rid of it. What? So no matter how much money she got, she essentially felt like she had to throw it away because she didn't deserve it. What? No matter what rank or what promotion she got, she never felt like she should be it. What? And so this incredibly talented, incredibly intelligent, incredibly qualified across multiple things, with money given, had essentially into her midlife tossed it all the fuck down the toilet because she never felt like she lived up to her mother's expectations. And I swear, again, there are some Batcave rules there, but believe me, however bad that story sounds, it's worse. If I could fully flesh it out, however bad that sounds, it is worse. And you're like, what? Right? And so that's where, like I say, with Fail Normal, again, I'm not doing Fail Normal to listen to my own voice. I can listen to my own voice walking down the road. Again, I talk to myself a lot. I listen to my voice even when I'm not talking into a camera, right? I'm not doing this to listen to my voice. I'm not doing this to be egotistical or arrogant or look at me. I'm doing this because what I have found in the real world, again, is I tell you folks, solve the problem that is in front of you. You solve the problem that is in front of you, and that is where fortune lies. That is where fortune lies. And what I'm telling you, from all of my experience, and where everything is, where I'm coming from to where I'm going, the problem that I see in front of my eyes right now is fucking mommy and daddy issues. It's authority issues. It's all this stupid little psychological crap that trips people up. Again, the smartest people in the world, doesn't matter. Again, like one of the real world examples. I remember when I was doing these question and answer things. And again, like I got this email from this guy. And it was just like, what the And so this was a few years ago, back when the MCSE and all that was more valuable. And he's like, Eli. So he's like, I got my Security Plus. I have my MCSE. I just finished my master's degree in information technology. What certification do I do next in order to get a job? Like, what the fuck? You put out resumes. You put out but that was the thing. Like, there's this psychological thing. Had a Security Plus, whatever. Had his MCSE, which is like a gold standard certification, plus his master's degree in IT. And still asking the question, what certification do I do? That's how fucked up our world is as far as certifications are concerned. And so that's what the whole fail normal thing is. Again, it's going back to try to get people to answer these questions and to answer it honestly and to see the world as it is, not how they imagine, right? Again, like making money off of having the MCSE and the CCNA and all that kind of stuff. The MCSE itself is not valuable. The MCSE and the CCNA themselves are not valuable. What was valuable, what a lot of people don't understand, was in the 90s, you had all the business buildings in the world, and they didn't have Cat 5 cable run in them. Again, a lot of youngins can't even imagine this. But up until 2000, like I was actually having cable run. I was responsible for having cable run in buildings that were 50 years old. These were professional, commercial buildings that had never had Cat 5 cable installed. The businesses, much less, had servers, much less had Cisco equipment, much less. So, I mean, it's an easy sell. I wasn't getting paid because I had an MCSE. I wasn't getting paid for that. I was getting paid because companies were getting email for the first time. We're getting websites for the first time. Again, if you don't have email and somebody shows you what email is, it's a pretty easy sell, right? Again, telephone systems, all this kind of stuff. And so, because everybody in the world essentially wanted email, and everybody in the world needed networking, and everybody in the world needed this and that and the other thing, they bought it. But here's the thing, once it's bought and installed the first time, you don't need to do it again. So again, as I say, like a lot of people say, oh Eli, you're too hard on the tech profession. Everybody's always going to need technology professionals. Yes and no. Well, what do you mean? I mean, we need construction professionals that know how to use drones in order to make the construction workflow more efficient, right? So you take a very high-tech drone. So like my house is over there, right? So you see my house, and you see how tall my house is. My house is really tall. It takes a really big ladder to get up to the roof. So the problem is, if anything needs to be done at roof level, or even looked at roof level, that means I have to have somebody come out, a construction person, whatever, come out with a really tall ladder. And again, a lot taller than even most construction ladders. And then they got to go up there, and they got to be qualified to go up there, and they got to take a look at it, right? That's a big thing. Well, imagine a construction professional that comes up with a workflow to use a drone to do the inspection. So you go out there, you buy a DJI drone, you launch it, you put it to the area, you zoom in on where I think there's a problem, and you go, oh, yep, there definitely is a problem. You can put a drone into any vehicle. You know, they could have a freaking Toyota Yaris and have the drone. Right? You don't have to worry about the insurance. Again, people going up and down ladders. That's danger, that's insurance, that's all those things, right? So what's valuable is having construction people, construction professionals, understanding how technology works in order to make their workflow better. Again, having retail professionals that know how to use just-in-time inventory practices, right? Or how to have things like unified inventory. So let's say you have 5 stores. Instead of having one warehouse, you distribute your inventory to all 5 stores, and then through your normal like delivery rotation or whatever, you can actually pick up boxes and move them between stores. Right? So instead of each store having 2 items, plus the warehouse having 20, you can have each store having, let's say, 5 of those items. If one store sells out, then you can move the inventory from a store that isn't selling as many to them, right? And so that means you don't have to have a warehouse, which reduces the overhead cost of warehouse, and there's all these things. And so that's where I want people to be thinking about, again, like with home automation and all that kind of stuff. Again, there's a question. Do you really need a MCSE? You don't need an MCSE. You need somebody that understands all of these different types of technology, and that's what I want you folks to be thinking about. And again, so is that a technology professional, or is that somebody discussing the modern world and all these different concepts? So that's what's going on. That is the long and short of it. Because I've seen the whole thing, like I say. I've seen like a lot of the comments. I've seen a lot of the comments about, oh, Eli just likes the sound of his own voice. And no, like I say, Fail Normal is basically, Fail Normal, I'm doing this for the exact same reason I started those Eli the Computer Guy class videos 6.5 years ago. Almost 7 years ago. Because that was a problem that I saw at the time. And then it migrated to do other things. And now, one of the reasons why I'm going away from Eli the Computer Guy as a name to Fail Normal is one of the issues you run into is when you name yourself Eli the Computer Guy, is that you should have brand coherency across what you're doing. So if you have Eli the Computer Guy talking about traveling in travel trailer, that doesn't make any sense. Like if I'm Fail Normal, I can talk about Samba servers, right? Or I can talk about travel trailers, or I can talk about mommy and daddy issues. Like, Fail Normal doesn't have any, like, brand name on it. Where, again, like I say, Eli the Computer Guy, if you start talking about travel trailers on that, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And the other reason, like I say, moving from Eli the Computer Guy to this, is that leaves Eli the Computer Guy as it is. So, again, like, I don't want to run into that Chris Perillo thing. So I've got, like, 701,000 subscribers over there. So I'll probably end up with 1 million subscribers at some point, and I've got my nice little gold play button. So no matter what happens here, that means that's successful. So again, when I go to Under Armour or when I go to any place and say, hey, you should sponsor me, and they say, why should I sponsor somebody with 10,000 subscribers? I go, oh, no. Look at my success on my other channel. And that's what I'm trying to do here. And again, so there we go. Because like I say, I've seen some of those comments from people like, oh yeah, Eli's just going off the whatever. It's like, no, motherfuckers. It's not my problem. You're so fucking stupid and have your head up your ass. That's my problem in life. Why is it when other people have their heads up their asses, I get blamed for it? I get blamed because you can't see the light of day because your head's so far up your sphincter, you can't see straight. And I get blamed for it. I get blamed for it. Eli, you should do computer classes. Why? Why? Who cares? But yeah, it is. Those mommy issues. Mom and daddy. God damn, mommy and daddy issues just fucking crushing. Fucking crush. Nothing to do with Lewis. Nothing to do with it. I just want to be careful with it. No, because Lewis on his videos, again, like I say, he gets a little, like I say, he talks about his personal life, which I don't do. Nothing against him doing it. Just not how I... And he talked about how his mom was like terminally ill and his father came home to take care. And I just want to say, nothing. I am not going near that shit with a fucking 500 foot full. 500 foot full. You know what I'm saying? Like, I am not fucking... No. Just to be clear, I ain't going near that shit. So, yeah. But that's it. in a nutshell. So I'll be very happy to take off. Not tomorrow, but the day after. Again, it's kind of weird with the whole time thing because I'm videotaping this on Sunday. So the soonest you'll see this is Tuesday, and you may see it Wednesday. Who knows? But anyways, that is my thing for today. That is my thought. And not everything is about Lewis. And even if it is about Lewis, it's about the story of Lewis. Does that make sense? I do hope people understand that when they're watching these videos. Truthy. You know this term truthy? So Stephen Colbert coined the term truthy. And basically, truthy is things that sound like they should be true but aren't. And that's how you should kind of take this channel. Because it is very important to understand. Like I say, I talk about my wife, but like even when I talk about my wife, like my wife, it was funny, like she talked about this, where she stopped being stressed about what I said on these videos when she realized the wife that I was talking about on these videos wasn't her. The wife I talk about in these videos has a semblance of her, but isn't her. And so when she realized that, then she could listen to everything and not be pissed anymore. Like she would listen to me talk about my wife, and she was like, ah! And then she was like, oh, when I realized the wife that you're talking about on those videos isn't me, then it's very easy, right? And so again, like I say, that's the important thing to think about. This, like I say, whenever I talk about Lewis or when I talk about like Big Nate or other people, that real human beings I may talk about, Jerry Barnacles or whatever, is there's the person that is in real life, and then there's the truthy person. Like I say, with Lewis, there is the person in real life that I believe could be successful in a number of different ways. Again, he could increase and be a depot level repair company. He could go off and do training. Many things. And then there's the truthy version of Lewis, where I am purposely betting him and taunting him to come to the content creator side. Again, I have my arguments for content creation, just like I would have my arguments for those other things. But again, at the end of the day, I really don't give a two shits what he does. I hope he is successful, and I hope he is happy, and I hope he makes money, and I hope he lavishes that on his employees. I really fucking don't care, though. It makes a good story. But yeah, because it is funny. And I think that's a weird thing, like I say, in this modern world. Especially, like I say, as things seem to be like more and more like reality TV, is what do you see? Is what you're seeing real? Is it an interpretation of real? Or does it have nothing to do with reality? Because, I mean, like I say, that's the whole thing. Like, one of the reasons, like, I did the videos when I was in Thailand, and why I continued this whole weird little storyline with the bet, with him with the voodoo doll, and him winning the bet, is because I want you to understand the truthy concept of making bets with people or calling people out, and then having it go colossally wrong. Right? Because I think that's a good truthy story. That's a good lesson. Like in life, normally Eli, I wouldn't make a bet with Lewis that for $100 that he'll be a content creator in 3 or 4 or 5 years. I would have a conversation with him, and I'd say these are the 3 or 4 options, and depending on what you say, one seems better or worse than the other. Whereas, like, the truthy thing is saying, hey, right? And then having to go colossally wrong. And that, again, that's the truthy lesson. Man, you are going to say something. You are going to make a bet. You are going to put your reputation on the line. You are going to say, I stand behind this come hell or high water. And what you're not going to expect is the hell or high water. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you gotta be like, I believe in this with all my heart. Come hell or high water, I don't care what happens. And then the spaghetti monster is gonna unleash what happens. And again, it's how you deal with it. Do you laugh with it? Do you keep going, right? You know, like I say, like with me making the bet with him, oh, come to the content creation is the way to go. And then you see me go to Thailand. And then you see me get cellulitis. And then you see me get horrible food poisoning. And then you see me come back and get sick. And then you see me have allergies. And what do? What do I do through all of it? What is the truthiness through all of it? Through all of it, I keep working. I keep grinding. Through all of it, I try to smile and laugh and make the best of the situation. And through all of it, I figure out what the next step is. So yeah, I got back from an adventure 3 weeks ago that definitely did not go to any plan I would have ever had. And 2 days from now, I'm going to hop in this travel trailer and go back out on the road. Those are the lessons. And again, those lessons I think are taught through again not being as convoluted as real life, because real life is convoluted. Again, real life. The problem is like when you use real life as a real example. Like if you're really gonna do real reality TV, and the problem is there's just too many. There's too many variables. It's just, you know what I'm saying. Like there's 100 variables that go into me making any decision. If I try to talk to you and I try to explain to you every one of those 100 variables, I couldn't do a video in an hour and a half. I couldn't do a video in 10 hours. Like, Eli, why do you eat oatmeal in the morning? Oh, damn it. Well, let me do a mini-series on why I do oatmeal in the morning, right? So trying to talk about everything and making it really flesh out. You get lost in what they call it, lost in minutia, lost in details. It's not worth the time, not worth the energy. At the end of the day, you come up with a mess that doesn't make a sense for anybody. Yeah, you focus on these little things, and then it gives a storyline. It gives something that you can actually use. The issue is, and especially like I say, when you're dealing with real human beings, like there is Lewis on YouTube, and unfortunately for me, so again, there's Eli on YouTube, and then Eli in real life. And again, they're a semblance of the two. The issue is like when you're dealing with real people, like I say, when you deal with like Lewis, or like Jerry Barnacles. I do have to be a little careful there, because I think the thems that are on YouTube are a lot more closer to the thems in real life than I would argue for. And so I do have to be careful there. But as far as I am concerned, there is the Lewis character and the Lewis human. And they're not necessarily the same things, if that makes any sense. There's the Jerry character and the Jerry human. But that's a thought. That is my thought. That is my thought for the day. So with that, I actually need to pee. And although I have a bathroom literally right there, it's not good to use a bathroom that you can't drain. So I'm going to go inside, go to the bathroom, then we're going to go out for our last little sushi at our favorite little sushi restaurant around here tonight. Have some fried sushi. I love my fried sushi. I get my monster, was it my sunat? My monster roll? I don't know. I get my rolls. I go to the sushi place here and I always get the exact same rolls. Because I found like I really like the rolls that I get. Like the rolls that I get, I really like. And every time I experiment and get a different roll, I really don't like it. It's like I found these two, and for like 3 years, that's the only rolls I get. I want this roll and this roll with extra ginger. And they go, ha ha ha, and they put it in front of me. I'm like, yes! So I always gotta go off and get some sushi. But with that, I'll call it a day. Rainy day. Oh, I can't wait to get on the road. I do like it. It's so funny. Like I said, I got that big old house over there. Like my garage is like twice the size. My garage is probably like 4 times the size of this little thing. I really like this thing. I swear to you, like if I could sell my house and there was no like weirdness to it. Like I didn't have to worry about transaction costs. I didn't have to worry about where I was gonna store my couch, any of that kind of stuff. I really would. Like the trailer life is nice. And again, that's one thing too. Like some people have like brought up this thing. Like I've been talking about money. But again, I don't know how to separate my life from money. Again, travel trailers cost money, right? It's not like I don't understand most people. Like most people, like, did your mom just crap a travel trailer on you or crap your car? Like money and it go hand in hand. But the main thing, like I say, is why I talk about money and why I talk about these things is, again, just so you get a real or a truthy real impression of what things are like. Like I say, you've been in my house. Well, your videos. You've seen my statues. You've seen my koi pond. And I swear to you, when I get into this little travel trailer, if I could dump that house with like zero worry about transaction costs and the rest of it, I would. From a purely visceral standpoint, in a lot of ways, I actually prefer this travel trailer. And that's the only thing. And again, that's not to be like, oh, boo-hoo's me, and, you know, oh, the horrors of having money. That's what I want you folks to be thinking about. Because how many people give up their lives for things that they find out that they're not going to want to have? Again, like I say, I mean, that's where I talk about like the Audi. So there was a point, like I say, this business was going well enough, and again, sponsors do pay a crap ton of money. And so it was like, I had this idea of an Audi, and I was like, Audi does like really good sales for some reason. Because I don't really know why I want an Audi, but I really wanted an Audi. And so I went to the Audi dealership, and I was going to pay cash for an Audi. And it was simple. Like the decision to buy an Audi was done. And then I sit there, and I sit in the Audi, and I'm taking a look at everything. And I'm like, I hate Audis. And then I literally bought a Ford. Not this Ford. I bought the different Ford. I bought a Ford for literally half the price. Not because I wanted to save money. Not because I wanted to prove I'm one of the common men and I don't need an Audi, I don't need a flat. I bought a Ford because it was better than the Audi. When I was in the Ford and I looked at all the options that the Ford had and I saw all the things the Ford was better than the Audi. And I was not overly sad it was half the price. But that wasn't it. And so that's all, like I say, there's this idea out there that all the bigger and the better and the fancier is better. And again, I think it goes back to, like I say, it's that whole mindset. If you stop thinking that all these things are better, then it's not just that you can be grateful. It's good to be more grateful with what you have. But it's also that you can be more reasonable about what your expectations are. Like if you think you need a big house to be happy, and you think you need a fancy car to be happy, then that means you got to work for it. Costs money, which means you're going to be working 60 hours a week, and you're going to be doing 30-day months, and all of that stuff. And so that is going to be stressful. That is going to be hard in your life. That is going to be difficult for you. And then think about going through all that. And then you get the house and you get the car and you realize it doesn't make you happy. And again, like I say, I have friends of mine that work like 60 hours a week. And even if they made $1 an hour, they'd still work 60 hours a week. They just gotta work 60 hours a week. So again, if you work 60 hours a week and you're a professional and you make a lot of money and you want a house with an elevator in it, fine, right? If you're doing what you're doing and that gets you a house with an elevator, then fine, right? I'm not against houses with elevators. Seems like another thing to repair to me, but fine, whatever. What I'm saying, though, is how many people give up their lives for these things, only to find out it's not valuable. Why do you think so many people, especially like I say in the United States, are miserable? They gave up their lives. They were the 24-year-olds all worried about their damn 401k plans. And they get the car, and they get the house, and the kids are in private school, and they've done everything right. They realize it's worthless. So that's why I say why I talk about these things. Because again, I have not given up my life for this kind of stuff. Again, I've had a weird life. I've been up and down the spectrum. Up and down. Again. It's like, oh, man, I have shopped at Salvation Army, not because it was a hipster thing to do, but that's the thing I just want people to think about, and that's why I talk about this kind of stuff. Is because, like I say, so many people, there's this idea of what things are, and then again, it's fine. Like I say, if you're Kyle Morgan and you start a startup company and you sell it for $100 million and you want to buy a huge house just because that's how things work out, right? But again, I see so many people who give up their lives for these things. And then they wonder why they're going to the therapist all the time and taking all the drugs to not like put a gun to their head. Because the reality is, see that thing over there? See that little travel trailer over there? See that travel trailer? That is like smaller than my dining room. If I could walk away from this thing to that, I would. Hand to the monster. Hand to the monster. So anyways, with that, I think my wife is going to come out and start, "Where are you, Eli?" pretty soon. So with that, we will call it a day, and I will see you folks whenever. We have to figure out a new term for time. Kyle Morgan, I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you, Kyle Morgan. We're going to have to come up with a new concept for time. And it's all on your shoulders.